And we are live from the JM Sports Show. 1 second while I share it with everyone, and we will get started here in just a second. Talk about everything that went down this crazy weekend of sports with the NFL draft, NBA, and NHL playoffs. And we are now 1 month into the baseball season. So we'll break down the first month of MLB. I guess yesterday marked 1 month since opening day. Opening day came so early this year, March 29th. So we'll discuss all that and more as the show has now been tweeted out. So here we go. Live with the JM Sports Show. And we have a lot to discuss. Let's start in the NBA. And the top story, of course, as always in the NBA playoffs when this man is playing, it's LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. It took them 7 games. Arguably, the Pacers were the better team in the series. But the Cleveland Cavaliers pulled it out last night with a 105-101 win. LeBron James goes off for 45 points as he leads his team to the next round where they will play the 1-seeded Toronto Raptors. And for the first time in LeBron's career, at least in a very long time, he is now an underdog, a 6-point underdog for Game 1 tomorrow. As they just have a 2-day turnaround before they had to head to Toronto and start a series against the 1-seed and a very good Toronto Raptors team. So the challenge has just begun for LeBron James and the Cavs, something we haven't seen the last couple of years when LeBron was sweeping through the East like Genghis Khan in days of old, sweeping through Asia and Europe. He's seemingly been slowed down because his team certainly isn't as good. But LeBron James, you seemingly can't bet against him. And even when odds seemed that the Pacers might pull it out, he found a way to get that little extra effort and arguably get some help from the refs in some of those games to win that series in 7 games. Meanwhile, the Western Conference second round is underway with the Houston Rockets defeating the Utah Jazz 106-91 last night. So the Rockets off to a great start, picking up right where they left off in their 5-game win over the Timberwolves. So they're looking great as Game 2 of the Warriors and Pelicans is tonight with Steph Curry, I believe, expected to play. That's what he was out of Game 1, but on Saturday night, Steve Kerr said he would likely play. And just 14 minutes ago, ESPN reporting he will likely return to action in Game 2. So the Warriors, who of course dominated even without him, dominating the Spurs, won in 5 games in that series, and then took Game 1 against New Orleans on Saturday night. We also on Saturday night saw Boston win in Game 7, dispatching the pesky Milwaukee Bucks, but the Bucks certainly have a bright future there. The Celtics take on the Philadelphia 76ers, and that series starts tonight at 8 p.m., tipping off over on TNT as they start in Boston for that best-of-7 series after the 76ers cruised through their first-round matchup against the Miami Heat, winning in 5 games. And in the NHL, we go from the court to the rink, and the NHL certainly has had some very exciting games. The winners of that were night we saw Boston win Game 1 over Tampa Bay pretty handily, 6-2. The Sharks finally hand a playoff loss to the Golden Knights 4-3. So that series is tied at 1. The Capitals slowed down the hot Penguins 4-1. They won, so that series is tied. And the Predators in the game of the night last night in double overtime with the Kevin Fiala goal defeated the Winnipeg Jets 5-4. Today, 2 more games at 7. The Bruins take on the Lightning in Game 3, or in Game 2 rather, and in Game 3 tonight at 10, the Golden Knights take on the Sharks, and then tomorrow 2 more games. Game 3 between the Capitals and Penguins, as well as the Predators and Jets, playing Game 3 tomorrow. So the NHL playoffs all to a full roll, as are the NBA playoffs, as we have begun eliminating teams and now getting a clear idea of of separating the contenders from the pretenders, as the old saying goes. We have a little bit to discuss with baseball. 1 month into the baseball season, the Yankees have overcome a slow start and have won 9 in a row. They beat the LA Angels of Anaheim last night 2-1 on a Gary Sanchez home run. And checking out the standings, the Red Sox had a little bit of struggles last week, but we're still able to reach the 20-win plateau. So they're the first team to reach 20 wins this season. So looking pretty good there if you're a Red Sox fan, and that April was one of the best you'll ever see as they finish the month. Well, probably they have one more game left tonight, but they're like 27 and Kansas City tonight. So Kansas City goes 1-7 on the month. The Yankees, the ones way far behind it now, just climb in 2 games. They're 18-9. Blue Jays have slowed down slightly, but they're still 5 games back at 15-12. Tampa Bay is not too bad, but certainly not they don't have a team that's going to contend later, but at 12-14, and they're already 7.5 games out. And then Baltimore certainly looking like Manny Machado may be gone by the deadline, as they're 8-20 and 12.5 games back. In the Central, the American League Central is the worst division in baseball. The top team, the Indians, are very mediocre compared to what we needed in the past couple of years at 14-12. And then the rest of that division has losing records, with the Tigers 3 games back at 11-15. The Twins at 7 wins and 20 losses at 7.5 games. And then in the West, it's the Royals on top of that division. The Mariners look pretty good at 16-11, 2 games back. It's the Angels 2.5 games back at 16-12. Oakland is playing 500 ball right now, 14-14, 4.5 games back. And then Texas at 11-18 is 8 games back. Then we go to the NL East, and how about the New York Metropolitans? At 17-9, they lead that division, followed by the Atlanta Braves and Philadelphia Phillies, who are both 1.5 games back at 16-11. The Nationals have a losing record right now. They're very disappointing this year, 12-16 and 6 games back. So they're a little bit stagnant right now. And then, as expected, the Miami Marlins, far from perfect at 9-18 and 8.5 games back in that division. So already the Marlins season appears to be over. Pittsburgh at 17-11 leads the NL Central, followed by Chicago Cubs, who are a half game back at 15-10. Some of the powerhouses of the in the National League Central, you have St. Louis at 16-13, and then Cincinnati, who fired their manager already, at 7-21, and are already well out of it, 10 games out. Then in the National League West, the Arizona Diamondbacks lead the way at 19-8. Colorado, who are just a game above 500 at 5 games back. You have San Francisco, who's 500 ball at 5.5 games back. The LA Dodgers are disappointing. They're 12 games back. And the Padres, where we thought they would be at 10-19 and 10 games back. So looking at some of the surprises, how about the slow starts for the Dodgers and Nationals? And the hot start from the Red Sox, certainly very straight they've been. But the Yankees are catching fire, and they are starting a series up against Houston tonight in Houston. As we look there, and a stat leader, home runs and average for batters and home and all that. So the average surprising 61 with 9 home runs and 22 RBIs. Home run wise, it's Didi Gregorius, Mitch Haniger. Didi Gregorius of the Yankees, Mitch Haniger of Seattle, and Mike Trout, the LA Angels, all with 10 dingers. And then with pitching, your top pitchers will get wins, and we'll look at strikeout. Wins wise, it is. I was looking at strikeouts last week, and Scherzer was on with strikeouts. We'll see if that's the case. Strikeouts wise, certainly looking as if my computer is loading forever. Garrett Cole with 61 strikeouts leads the way, followed by Scherzer with 57, and Patrick Corbin, who's done quite well with 55. So those are your league leaders in baseball. We're following in April, a month that had a lot of rainouts and snowouts and cold baseball, but finally we are in spring across most of the country, so it appears as if some bats are going to warm up, and some of those teams that started slow, maybe they will warm up as well. Let's go to the NFL draft. I did a first-round reaction on Friday's show, but just a quick thought. What a great story with Shaquem Griffin getting drafted by the Seattle Seahawks, where he will join his brother Shaquille. So that is an awesome story, and certainly hope for the best for Shaquem Griffin. And I knew a guy that got drafted. Well, not really new, but went to my high school. Scott Questenberry got drafted at UCLA, and he went to my same high school. So that was pretty cool to see as well. But that's about it for our show. That will do it. Have a good one. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to me here on YouTube, and enjoy. And my YouTube's